Welcome to the deep dive. We take a huge pile of research notes, analysis, all that stuff, and we just cut straight to what you need to know.
That's the idea.
And today, we are really getting into English language mastery, specifically that gateway to sounding like a native speaker, idioms.
Ah, yes, idioms, the fun part.
Right, so if you're learning English and you want to stop sounding, well, like a textbook.
A bit stiff.
Yeah, exactly. And start sounding natural, like you actually get the jokes in movies, then this deep dive is definitely your shortcut.
It really is a big level up in language learning. And our mission today, it isn't just about listing, a few quirky phrases.
Yeah, definitely not.
We've synthesized the most effective step-by-step methods from all the research we looked at. The goal is moving you from just recognizing idioms to actually using them confidently.
Okay, so let's start with the basics, the foundation. When we talk about idioms, what exactly are we talking about? It's more than just vocabulary, right?
Oh, absolutely. An idiom is basically a phrase where the meaning, it's completely different from the literal meanings of the words themselves.
Right, it's non-compositional, as the linguists say.
Exactly. You can't just add up the word meanings. Think of it like a fossilized chunk of meaning.
And that's different from, say, a phrasal verb, where there's often still some connection.
Precisely. Like look up, up. Even if it means search for, you can kind of trace the action.
Okay.
But an idiom like kick the bucket.
Meaning to die.
Right. There's zero logical, literal connection between kicking buckets and, well, mortality.
Ah. Yeah.
That total disconnect is what makes them tricky, sure, and
Yeah.
also really powerful.
Powerful because, as all the sources confirmed, they're just everywhere in spoken English.
Absolutely everywhere.
They add the color, the personality. If you don't get them, you miss a lot of the nuance, don't you? Your understanding just hits a kind of ceiling.
Native speakers use these shortcuts all the time. Understanding them isn't just about, like, ticking a comprehension box. It signals cultural fluency.
And without that fluency, even with perfect grammar.
Your speech can sound a bit dry or maybe too formal.
Right. You don't quite connect in the same way.
Exactly.
Okay, but I can hear the listener thinking, idioms are hard. There are thousands. Why should someone who's still working on basic grammar, vocab, why bother with these really tricky exceptions? What's the strategic payoff?
That's a great question. And what's really interesting is that idioms are like the ultimate cultural shortcut.
How so?
Well, they package a complex or maybe an emotion into one quick phrase.
Yeah.
They're tiny windows into how a culture thinks and feels based on shared history.
Can you give an example of that cultural link?
Sure. Think about I'm feeling blue, meaning sad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why blue? Well, the research suggests it wasn't just random. There are historical links. Maybe literature, maybe old sea. So when you learn feeling blue, you're not just learning sad. You're tapping into potentially hundreds of years of shared cultural background that paired that color with that emotion.
That really changes how you see them. They're not just vocabulary lists, they're social markers.
Exactly. Using them correctly shows you're familiar with those unspoken rules. And the linguists we read, they all agree it makes your English sound, well, warmer, friendlier.
Connects you better.
It does. And, psychologically, when you actually get an idiom you hear, maybe in a movie, that aha moment, it's rewarding. It gives you a little dopamine hit, which actually fuels your motivation to keep learning. Makes the whole thing more enjoyable.
Okay, I'm sold on the why. Let's get practical. How do we actually make these things stick? Let's unpack those core strategies from the sources. What's strategy number one?
Strategy one is absolutely key. Always learn idioms in context. Always.
Not just lists, then.
Definitely not lists. Our brains are just terrible at memorizing isolated facts like that. But learn an idiom inside a story or a conversation, a real situation. Your brain creates these strong memory hooks.
So if I'm watching a show and someone says, okay, let's call it a day as they're packing up their stuff, the phrase gets instantly linked to the visual, the feeling of stopping work.
Precisely. That context anchors it.
Right.
It's way more effective than just a flashcard saying, call it a day, stop working. The scene, the tone, who said it, that all helps lock it in.
Makes sense. Okay, strategy two is about organizing them, right? Grouping by theme.
Yes, the power of grouping.
Now, I wondered about this. If you group things by theme, like, say, all food idioms, isn't there a risk you might mix them up because they're kind of similar?
That's a fair question. But the research actually suggests the opposite if you do it right. Think of it like creating mental filing cabinets.
Okay.
You group idioms under themes: work, weather, body parts, money, whatever. You're building these semantic networks in your brain. It actually helps you find them later.
Can you walk me through an example? How does that network help?
Sure. Take weather idioms you might have under the weather for being sick.
Right.
Chase rainbows for trying something impossible.
Hmm.
And maybe the calm before the storm for that quiet period before trouble hits.
Okay, got 3.
When you learn them together under the weather theme, trying to recall one can actually trigger the others in your mind. It strengthens the whole category instead of confusing things. It gives your memory structure.
Ah, I see. Structure helps recall. Okay. And the third strategy, that demands action.
Yes. Active usage and repetition. This is where a lot of learners fall down. Knowing an idiom is kind of useless if you can't actually use it.
Right. You have to deploy it.
Exactly. The sources are really clear on this.
Yeah.
You must move from just reading or hearing an idiom to speaking and writing with it. The advice is try to use at least one new one every day.
And the sources mentioned a specific tool for this, the idiom diary.
Yes.
But if someone's busy, how do they realistically fit that in without it feeling like homework?
It doesn't have to be a huge essay. The diary idea is simply about recording it, the idiom, its meaning, and crucially, making up your own sentence using it.
Ah, the personalization step.
Right. That forces you to actually produce the language. Spend maybe 5 minutes before bed, write one sentence with the day's idiom, then maybe try using it in a quick text the next morning. It's about weaving it into your life, not keeping it separate.
Okay, that sounds manageable. Now let's give the listener an instant toolkit. 6 common idioms they can use, like right now.
Good idea.
How about we try and use them naturally rather than just listing? I'll start. Prepping this deep dive, it was complex, but actually distilling the strategies, that was a piece of cake compared to wading through all those academic papers.
I agree. And I really hope our listener doesn't spill the beans about the sheer amount of caffeine required on our end.
Secret safe with me, though I probably should hit the books later tonight, just review some of those linguistic history notes again. Okay, that's 3. Your turn.
All right. Let's see. I only get to attend my favorite really obscure linguistics conference once in a blue moon. It just doesn't happen very often.
Oh, that's a shame. Well, hopefully when you do go, you don't have to worry too much about having to break the ice with people. You seem like you'd chat easily.
Thank you. And speaking of conferences, I actually missed the last one. I was feeling a bit under the weather, unfortunately. Just not well enough to travel.
Too bad. But there we go. 6 very usable, everyday idioms.
Immediately applicable.
So how do we make practicing this stuff fun? Keep it going. The research had ideas about gamifying it.
Yeah, flashcards are okay, but make them interactive. Don't just quiz yourself. Quiz a friend or a language partner.
How would that work?
Like, one person describes the situation. Say, your colleague told everyone you're resigning before you wanted them to.
Right.
And the other person has to shout out the idiom. Like, wow, they really spilled the beans. That context guessing game makes it stick.
Oh, I like that. That's much better than rote memorization. And for getting more advanced, the experts really push learning from entertainment, don't they?
They do. Watch English TV shows, but do it actively. Things like The Office, Modern Family. Shows with realistic conversational dialogue.
And the active part is?
When you hear a phrase you think might be an idiom, pause it. Don't just immediately look it up. Try to guess the meaning from the scene, the character's reactions. Then check if you were right. That deduction process, it really cements the learning.
That makes sense. What about social media?
Yeah, that came up too. Follow pages or accounts that just post, like one idiom a day. It's a controlled dose, prevents you from feeling overwhelmed.
A little drip feed of idioms.
Exactly. And if you really want to lock it in, the gold standard, try teaching it to someone else.
Oh, interesting. Explain it to a friend.
Yeah. Maybe post about the idiom you learned. When you force your brain to organize the information well enough to explain it clearly, that's when it really sticks. Permanently.
Okay, powerful stuff. But before we finish, we absolutely have to cover the dangers, the pitfalls. The sources were quite clear on common mistakes learners make. What should people watch out for?
Right. Avoiding awkwardness. Mistake number 1 is probably overuse, or using them in the wrong situation, the wrong register.
Like too many in one go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you try to stuff 5 idioms into one sentence, especially in, say, a formal email, it just sounds unnatural, artificial.
Like you're trying too hard.
Yeah. Saying something like, I bit the bullet, then I broke the ice, and then I spilled the beans all before lunch. It's just clunky. Too much color becomes clutter. Case yourself.
Okay, so moderation. What's the second big error?
Ah, the classic literal translation. This is where things can get really weird or even embarrassing.
Because idioms don't follow literal logic.
Not at all. They're often based on some obscure historical thing.
Hmm.
You translate an idiom word for word from your own language into English, 99% of the time it'll be nonsense or worse.
Right. You have to learn the meaning as a whole chunk.
As a concept, yes. Not as separate words you can swap out. I heard a story once about someone trying to translate a phrase for feeling slightly ill.
Yeah.
And it came out literally as being off color or not the standard color in English, which just sounded bizarre.
Completely bizarre. Okay, avoid direct translation. And the final pitfall.
It links back to what we said earlier, passive memorization without application.
So you know what hit the books means.
But you never actually say it when you talk about studying.
Right. It stays stuck in your head.
Exactly. It's locked in passive understanding. To really master it, you have to push yourself to use it actively, even if you make a small mistake sometimes, honestly. Even native speakers use idioms slightly differently based on where they live. The goal is clear communication, not being perfect. Don't be afraid to try.
That's really good advice. Don't fear the mistake. So wrapping this all up, the main message from this deep dive seems pretty clear. Stop treating idioms like they're just extra vocabulary.
They're essential.
They're essential cultural contextual units. Learn them slowly, focus on the context, practice using them, and your English will sound much more natural, warmer, and frankly, more interesting.
Absolutely. And maybe one final thought for you to ponder, building on that cultural link we talked about.
Go for it.
We mentioned phrases like piece of cake for something easy and hit the books for studying hard. Think about how common those two are. One values ease, simplicity. The other values serious effort. What is the fact that both of these ideas are so embedded in everyday English idioms? What might that tell you about the culture's sort of complex relationship with effort, achievement, and simplicity?
That's interesting. The tension between wanting things easy and valuing hard work right there in the language.
Exactly. Keep digging into the why behind the words. There's always more there.
A fantastic thought to end on. Keep practicing, keep learning with confidence, and we'll catch you on the next